This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening. It's 6 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order. This is a public planning meeting to do with our official plan. The official plan is a land use planning document containing the township's goals, objectives, and policies. They're intended to guide the development and growth in the township over a 20-year time horizon. The official plan manages and directs physical development within the context of social, economic, built, and natural environmental matters in the township. The current official plan was approved in 2006 and has been amended on several occasions, but needs to be further updated again to reflect, among other things, the new Grey County official plan and the recent version of the provincial policy statement. Council has determined that a new official plan should be prepared. So this official plan covers the entire township. Any person or public body is entitled to attend the meeting and make written or oral submissions in support of or in opposition to the official or the proposed new official plan. Persons wishing to make oral submissions to council at the public meeting are invited to register with the township clerk, and written comments should be also addressed to the clerk. Okay, can I have confirmation that notice was given, please?
Yes, Mayor Woodbury, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to our planner, Clint Stredwick, and Clint, if you could review any of the comments received from agencies and the public.
Good evening, Chair and Council. I'm actually going to direct the first part of this to Ron Davidson in terms of letting us know and the public some of the things that we've changed from the last time you've seen us, because the last time you saw us was back in December, I believe it was, just for the open house. And since that time, we've been busy taking any comments that have been received and incorporating ones that we felt are appropriate into the current document that you see before you, and it has been circulated and is available on the township website. So I'm going to turn it over to Ron right now, and I'll leave it to him to continue on.
Okay,
Ron,
thank you. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and hopefully lots of people listening at home. So I am, for those of you who are listening at home, my name is Ron Davidson. I'm a planner, just like Clint. Clint works for the township, and I've been asked by the township to help prepare a new official plan. So yeah, welcome to tonight's meeting. I'm going to probably take maybe 6 or 7 minutes to explain things, and then it's sort of an open session for questions and answers by the general public, and of course members of council. So yeah, we heard from the mayor and from Clint a little bit of a brief introduction. We're here to talk about an official plan. And as you heard through the mayor's opening comments, an official plan, it's a planning document, and it has the township's goals and objectives and policies that are intended to provide development and growth in the township over a 20 to 25-year period. Looks at things like the physical development, but within the context of social, economic, natural environment matters in the township. As you heard, yeah, we have an official plan already in the township, but it's about 16 years old. It's been amended on a few occasions, and it needs to be amended again. But it's time to just come up with a new official plan. That one's just dated, and it's easier process-wise just to adopt a new plan. So that's what we've been doing for the last 8 or 9 months. I've been working closely with Clint, the township's planner, on this matter, and we've had now several good discussions with council during this time, and council has provided clear direction on a series of different topics. So as you heard from Clint, we have circulated the application. I'm sorry, we've circulated the official plan to agency comments. So there's a whole list of public agencies and other agencies like the First Nations groups for comment, and we received a fair amount. They are available on the township's website if you care to see what they are. Those comments, most of those comments from the agencies, a huge majority of them have been factored into the new document that you have before you. We had quite a few comments come back to the Conservation Authority, making sure we have our wording correct. Probably the biggest set of suggested changes came from the Grey County Planning Departments. Clint and I have spent a fair amount of time on a couple of different occasions meeting with the county planners to go over their comments and discuss them, and then for the most part, yeah, the county's comments have been worked into the new version of the official plan that you have before you. Just a couple of things I want to repeat. I said this at the open house. The township's official plan has to conform to the upper tier official plan, which is the Grey County document. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the same as, because that would beg the question, well, why would we have our own official plan if we're just kind of a puppet to the county? But that's not the case. We don't have to be the same as. We can be more restrictive, but we can't be more permissive. And there are a few instances where we're a little bit more restrictive than what the county official plan allows for. At the same time, our official plan has to be consistent with a document from the Ontario government called the Provincial Policy Statement. And they sort of lay out the rules with regard to a number of things, including the preservation of what we consider to be prime agricultural land, the protection of known areas of sand and gravel deposits for possible future extraction purposes. And I realize gravel pits aren't everybody's favorite thing, but it is something we need, and it is something that's, I guess, near and dear to the heart of the province. The province also, through their provincial policy statements, that sets out housing policies that they want us to include in our official plan, and we have. Gone are the days where development would simply be large subdivisions, or probably subdivisions with large single-family lots. No, that's in the province's mind, that's a waste of land and it's a waste of municipal servicing. So you see requirements for densities that are a lot greater than just a single-family subdivision. You'll see policies that require, a medium-density development to be included pretty much in almost every subdivision, be it single townhouses or semis, and encouraging apartment buildings. And again, these are the policies that come from the province. They're in the county official plan, and they're in the township's official plan. The province is a big promoter, and rightfully so, of affordable housing. That's, I think, again, near and dear to everyone's heart. We certainly have a serious problem throughout the entire province with affordable housing, and right here in Grey County. At the same time, the province is really pushing rental housing, because there always seems to be a shortage of, let's just say, good quality rental housing anyways. It's not just rental housing in general. So in an official plan, you have maps, which we generally call schedules, and we have policies or text. And so every property in the township is designated something. In some cases, it will have more than one designation. If you're in an urban area, you might be designated residential or commercial or industrial. If you're in the countryside, you might be designated agricultural, which again generally insinuates you have good agricultural land. You might be designated rural, which suggests that your lands aren't prime agricultural land, but nevertheless can still be used for agricultural purposes. And of course, then there's all kinds of natural natural matters that we have identified on their schedules. Lands might be designated environmental hazard, or there may be constraints such as significant woodlands and wetlands and other environmental features. And there's policies, again, that come straight from the province to protect those features. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what we have in official plan, what we have in our official plan, and what it's intended to do. Now, there have been, like I said, there have been changes. This has been a work in progress, this official plan, for the last 9 months. The version you have in front of you is, we're getting really close to the end here in terms of having a final document. But there have been some changes, and I think I'll bring to your attention sort of a couple of the biggies, if you will. First of all, as your council is well aware, the province just recently issued a minister's zoning order for certain lands adjacent to Dundalk, and we are required to change the official plan to have the official plan reflect those minister's zoning orders. So as late as today, we have produced new mapping that shows those minister's zoning orders, and if you care to look later, you'll find them on Schedule A, both maps 1 and 2. There's no surprise, the official plan has been written basically, I won't say verbatim, but very close to the way the zoning order has been written, because we're required to do so. Another thing that has changed just as late as last week, we got another round of comments from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, and they were providing us with new mapping for what we call other wetlands, or if you want to call them locally significant wetlands, not to be misconstrued for provincially significant wetlands. Anyways, these locally significant wetlands have always appeared on Schedule C, one of our constraint mapping, but the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority was recommending a little bit more. They had provided us additional mapping and that came straight from the province, apparently, and it was suggesting that more lands have this this other wetlands constraint identified or added to it. We have done that, so that's one of the other big changes, I suppose. Also worth mentioning, recently we added dark sky policies. The last version of the official plan that was out there did not have those policies. As well, we've been tweaking the policies for climate change. We've always had some in this particular this document, the official plan, but we've been working on them, trying to make them stronger, and I think we've done that in our latest version. That's really it in terms of the big changes. Again, there were several small changes that came about as a result of the circulation of the application, and of course, council's comments in the times we've met, taking direction from them, and the official plan hopefully reflects the comments that were made in the past. So wrapping this up, what happens now? So tonight we're having our formal public meeting. This is the first one was called an open house, which is basically identical to a public meeting, except the Planning Act says we call this one a public meeting. We're hoping that at the council's next meeting in May 3rd or 4th, that they will respectfully adopt the official plan. The version that you have in front of you tonight may very well be the version that you're being asked to approve in May, or maybe as a result of tonight's meeting, there might be some last minute tweaking, and that of course is fine. What happens though is council actually isn't the approval authority. You adopt the official plan by bylaw, but it then goes to the County of Grey Planning Department for their approval. So the county, as in the case throughout the province, the upper tier municipality is the approval authority for lower tier official plans. So the County of Grey again will be the approval authority. So we will be sending that to them directly after council adopts this official plan, again, hopefully in May. Could the county change some of the policies or mapping before they approve it? That they could. My money is on that if they do, it'll be a very small change, because again, Clint and I have worked very closely with the planners at the county to make sure that they're on board with what we're proposing. And again, we've made a lot of changes, mostly almost all minor, but we've made a lot of changes to reflect the county's questions and concerns. What happens after that? The county will approve it. I would like to hope that can be done within 6 or 8 weeks. I would believe that if they're going to make any drastic changes, they will run that by your council first, which is the courteous thing to do. And then after that, there's a 20-day appeal period, and we hope that there are no appeals, and that would be the end of the process at that time. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. I guess now Clint will move on to comments from other agencies and the public.
Okay, there's quite a few written comments there, so I'm gonna skim through some of them. Some of them are a little more lengthier than others. The full list obviously is in the agenda if you want to read them. But to start off, the Historic Saugeen Métis has taken the time to review the document and appreciates the reference in section 7.16 in regard to Indigenous consultation. We recommend changing the title of section 7.16 to Indigenous community consultation, as this title would be a more inclusive term for all Indigenous people. And then it says, thank you again for the opportunity. And then Saugeen Ojibwe Nation indicates, at this point, the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation's Environment Office does not have the resources to engage in consultation on this project. We have no further comments on this project. If at any point anything of archaeological interest is revealed on site, please contact the Saugeen Environmental Office. Well, hopefully not. Then we have 2 sets of SVCA comments. The first set is from earlier in December, and then the second set is on March 23rd. And Ron went through the majority of that with the inclusion of these other wetlands. Those aren't reflected in the latest version that you've seen online. However, they will be up there shortly for review. Then we had some Grey County comments, which are 9 pages long. So I'm going to just suggest, if you are really interested, you read them instead of me reading them verbatim. The Public Works, basically they're wondering if we should have a definition for annexation or a policy around it, as we are entertaining this transportation for there's a typo in the section 11 there for, and yeah, so that was Public Works. Melanchthon again had been circulated and they made no comments. Wellington North has no comments. The Blue Water District School Board had a 4-page letter. Again, I'm going to direct you to read that. There were some things we did change with respect to some wording around daycares versus nursery school and that sort of thing, that we did make the change. But then there are some things in that letter that we just didn't feel were appropriate for the official plan. and more zoning bylaw oriented. Christine Loft from Loft Planning presented a comment, and I believe a similar letter was actually sent to the County of Grey for their official plan amendment number 11 regarding farm size in the agricultural area in relation to on-farm diversified uses, and specifically in Southgate, well, in the Grey County plan as well, they had it so that parcels 50 acres and under in the prime ag designation were not permitted to have an on-farm diversified use. And yeah, so that was their comment there. And then she provides some rationale for that. There's the County of Wellington comments from Curtis Marshall. And says, we note Schedule B shows aggregate resource area within the Mount Forest Urban Center. This small area should be removed from Mount Forest. Source protection, we suggest that where applicable be added to the policy to provide some additional flexibility for the risk management official so that all applications within the WEPA Area D do not need notices as shown below. So that was the couple comments they had with respect to that. And then Grand River Conservation Authority had provided 3 main comments. The official plan has outlined that most residential growth will be directed to Dundalk. It may be beneficial to establish and implement phasing policies or other long-term planning, i.e. master servicing plan or master environmental servicing plan, as per section 1137 of the provincial policy statement. They're referring to section 54249. All lot creation shall conform to the policies of section 7.2 and section 5.5. So they're suggesting we add in 5.5. And then the last comment they had was with respect to section 6132, written permission may be required from the applicable conservation authority where development or site grading is proposed within a regulated area pursuant to Ontario regulations or Ontario Regulation 150/06. So that's their primary comments. Bell Canada generally has no comments. They're thanking us for being circulated and just have some general comments about what future development applications need to be considerate of. And that's all of the comments we've received from the agencies. I haven't received any written comments to date from members of the public.
If I may interject, so there was one pit owner who had rehabilitated his pit, surrendered his pit license, and there's a request made, as Clint recalls this now, to change his lands back to, I can't remember, it's rural or agricultural and out of the gravel pit designation. So we did that as well. And then I think the Grey Highlands, Clint, I think they did a verbal, and they said they were fine. Most of the adjacent municipalities, their planner called me, either the county or the local municipalities, and then said, you know, give us the Coles Notes version of what's going on here. And they were generally, well, they were satisfied with what's going on, because the new policies as it pertains to your neighboring landowners aren't changing to any extent that they would be concerned with. So, and yeah, thanks for doing that, Clint. Those are the only 2 extra ones.
Okay, thank you. This time, are there any questions from council? And I can only see some of you, so you may have to speak up.
Yeah, it's Martin here, John. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. I have a question about on page 15, 3.4 housing. It says the township will aim to provide a variety of housing types, which Ron, you've already mentioned about with the zoning orders coming in. Part of the zoning orders to get them fast tracked is to supply this affordable housing. It's up to 30%. Is there a way, because you've stated on page 10, 1.6, and your opening preamble that there is a little bit more restrictions in our official plan, even though we have to still be in line with everybody else? Could we change that 3.4 on page 15? Will provide, and totally get rid of the aim to, will provide this housing, because planning is looking into the future. You mentioned, Ron, that the provincial government doesn't want the sprawl. They want to diversify. They want the rentals. And if we are getting the industrial park going and where people are coming here to work, we need that varied kind of housing. You know, some of these people are not going to be into the single detached. They'll just want an apartment. So would that be possible to change that, or the legal ramifications? But you know, will provide a variety of housing instead of aiming to, because as I said, the zoning orders the province made sure that was a part of any zoning order that was put forth, that they would be a lot more affordable rental townhomes back-to-backs. So is that possible to just change that wording?
Yeah, if that's the direction of council, absolutely. I might want to add a couple more words. Like, I mean, if we say the township will provide, we want to make sure that it's not the township itself that's providing the housing. Correct?
Well, yes, but
Like something like
when you look at 3.4,
ensure that a variety. Yeah, we can. Yes, we can wordsmith that so we'll get rid of the word aim, but also
well, if it's agreeable to, yeah, sorry, if it's agreeable to everybody, I'm just saying with zoning orders, 30%. That's the aim of the provincial government. My personal feeling is that should be the benchmark that you should do, and then go above higher than that benchmark. So I think with the official plan, there's leeway with all the zoning, and it boggles your mind. But if we can get rid of that aim to and just say we will provide, because of the development, industrial and commercial, there's going to be a lot more people here that don't want to drive and they just want a nice, comfy home. And I really respected the comment when you said about rental buildings. You know, they still have to be good quality buildings. You know, we don't want people coming in and building less or just minimum, you know. So if that could be changed, that would be, I think that would be helpful for the kind of developers who are coming in. So comment.
Mayor Woodbury, Quinn
Okay,
had his
thank you.
hand up.
Any other council have comments?
Mayor Woodbury?
Okay. I can't see everybody, so yeah, go ahead, Clinton. Yep.
Okay, thank you,
Yes.
Chair Woodbury. Just further to what Ron was saying, and also to what Councillor Shipson was saying, as soon as you put in like a shall or a directive like that into official plan, it becomes very rigid, meaning there's no flexibility in it for someone to provide anything other than what is in that policy. So that's something to consider. We would definitely want a request, like a resolution from council if that was the direction. I think there also might be a misunderstanding about the zoning orders. The zoning orders aren't required to meet that target of 30%. There's nothing in the zoning that says thou shalt do 30% affordable housing. So there might be a misunderstanding there. The developer has agreed to do affordable housing, but the amount I don't believe was specified.
Okay, thank you. Barbara?
Thank you. Through you. I have a couple of questions, and with regard to the affordable, attainable, higher density, medium density, I think we run into difficulties and challenges if we become more restrictive. The affordability, or if you want to determine actual affordable housing, is a subsidized type housing, and that comes at a cost to the developer. So I think that's all part of the negotiations. I'm glad you clarified, Clinton, that would have to be a resolution of council to change that wording. On page 52 of 121, where we talk about the township zoning bylaw will generally permit as of right on-farm diversified uses as outlined in Table 1. That page also says it's page 46, so I'm not sure if there just needs to be a renumbering, or so I wasn't sure if it's page 52 or page 46. You're muted, Ron.
What, sorry, can you just, what section is that again? I've got it called up here.
It's with regard to permitted uses. Just a second, my screen went to another document. Page 52 of 121. It follows Table 1, examples of permitted uses. So it's about development policies, 5.4, and then you get into page 52 of 121, the count number E.
Sorry,
letter
just
E.
sorry. Just this for if we could forget the pages for a second, just the section of the official plan that we're talking about.
Sure. 5.4.1.2.
Okay.
Subsection 4E.
Yeah.
Diversified uses.
Yes. Okay, I'm there.
Yeah, sorry, the page numbers are not quite jiving, but so when that refers to discussions, I think we had some time ago where it was, would council consider removing and maybe this doesn't remove the public planning process of an on-farm diversified application, and maybe Clinton might want to answer this. But when it says as of right, does that mean that we are granting on-farm diversified uses on certain properties without having to go through a zoning amendment? Clinton's got his hand up.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. This came as a result of a report I brought earlier in the year with respect, or it might even been last year, I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was in relation to on-farm uses and this very topic of not requiring a zoning amendment for certain applications if they met certain criteria. And in E here, you can see that it specifies no portion of the on-farm diversified use except for the driveway shall be situated within 20 meters of a lot line. it has to be 150 meters away from a sensitive use, those sorts of things. So that's what I talked about in that report. So if it meets those criteria, then no, it wouldn't require zoning. It would still require site plan approval because all commercial and industrial uses require site plan approval, but it would not require a zoning if it was able to meet those distances and criteria as per the report that council adopted earlier.
So I just wanted that clarification that was based on the report that came previously. And it doesn't mean that they can just go to the building department and get their building permit. They'd still need to come in for a pre-consultation with the planner to determine whether they meet that base criteria.
Absolutely.
And jump to the site plan stage. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
If I
Thank you for that.
If I may, so yeah, these very same.
Yep, go ahead.
These very same policies will be placed in the zoning bylaw. So if you meet these provisions, then you don't need a zoning amendment. And if you do meet them, I'm sorry, then you don't need a zoning amendment. And if you don't, then you have to talk to Clint about an amendment.
May I continue, Mayor Woodbury?
Yep.
Just, this letter from Loft Planning, where it's addressed to the county, and just their submission of this letter doesn't mean that we're going to incorporate their recommendation in prime agriculture. I think you touched on this, Ron, that the PPS requires us to protect the prime agricultural lands, and there's some restrictions based on the PPS, and the county is restricting certain sizes, and we haven't removed that restriction, correct?
That is correct, and you couldn't do that tonight if you wanted to anyway, because
No.
the county official plan would have to be amended first, because that would be if you decided to take that report and order Clinton and I to change the official plan, we would tell you that you can't be more permissive than the upper tier document.
Right. And I'm not suggesting for a minute that we should. So, and my final comment with regard to Schedule C, the SCCA comment about incorporating other wetlands. There was some breakup in the audio I'm not sure if you referred to them as provincially significant wetlands. Because it's coming from the ministry, are these other wetlands provincially significant, or are they just other wetlands that need to be considered? And I have another reason I'm asking that question.
Yeah. So no, they are not identified by the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry as provincially significant. You can call them unevaluated wetlands or other wetlands. I think those two terms are synonymous, but they do not have the status of a provincially significant wetland.
Okay, and thank you, because there, just as an aside, there was a file where there was what the province considered through their aerial red circle provincially significant wetland. It was challenged, was I think 5 acres, and it was determined through study that it didn't meet the criteria, the tests of a provincially significant. So I'm glad that these are just other unevaluated wetlands. So those are my questions. Thank you, Mayor Woodbury.
Okay. Any more questions from council? And like I said, I can't see everybody, so.
Martin here, John.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, John. Clinton or Ron. I I apologize. I'm looking at the thing on my phone here, all this. I'm looking at affordability 3.4.3, page 18 or page 10, depending on what you have. Again, I apologize. I'm on my phone. It says in number 9, during the next update of the township zoning bylaws, on and on, the township will give consideration to rezoning specific properties or general areas of Dundalk to allow for increased densities and facilitate affordable or attainable housing, including rental units. So does that mean close to town or in town, we can go higher than 4 stories? Would that have to be an amendment to allow a builder to go 6 or 8, depending on where they're located? Because it does talk about densities here. So throwing that out there.
Clinton has his hand waving.
Yep, go ahead, Clint.
The main point of that policy is to just if you're going to include densities and whatnot in your zoning, you have to have the permissions first in the official plan before any decisions are brought in the zoning. So that's the first aim of that policy.
Yep.
The second one then is to have a look at areas and see where higher density or lower density should or should not go. As to the exact how high it is, it's not just a consideration of, oh, let's tack on another few levels onto a building. Floors is the word I'm looking for. There are other considerations that may play into that. As an example, having to buy a ladder truck for your fire department because you've all of a sudden got floors that are higher than can be serviced by the equipment you have. So that's a consideration to be looked at among others. So, but it does. This is mainly authorizing density provisions in your zoning bylaw.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Clint. And I actually remember you. I might have asked this question once before, and you trigged my memory where you said if you go really, really high, there's a lot of other costs involved. But and I know you're all into about shadowing and what have you. But if a developer wants to do it on the outside and he's willing to pay, that would just be a zoning amendment then of the official plan if you wanted to go 6 instead of 4. So the possibilities are there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I do have one different question, if I may ask, if anybody
go ahead.
wants to go ahead other than me. I was glimpsing over the 4-page letter of the school board, and I know this morning, John, and all the times you also said we should get the school board involved in planning. There was a letter here dated February 23rd, and it must be very frustrating for you planners because I highlighted in yellow from the board. It says, however, under the financial formula for capital projects, a new school will frequently be funded based on enrollment and community demographic data from years before the school is built. Future growth is not considered, which is unfortunate as a new school in the community often draws families into the area. Well, can we pressure the school board to do a little bit better than that? Because we are getting so many.
I can answer that if you
so
like.
many buildings coming.
Yep.
Go ahead. Just curious.
And this is, you're right, it is a frustration of planners when we get comments like that we know the growth is coming or is here. There's evidence of, just look at the number of portables at those schools. We've had complaints from various members of the public, even members of this council, who are concerned about schooling. And it's disheartening when you see that they don't even consider future growth, even though we know it's coming, and it's planned for, and it's a matter of time, really, of how fast can we issue the permits. And so that's a little disconcerting with respect to the school board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
thanks.
Just before I go to
Thank
you,
you.
just before I go to you, Barb, is there anyone else on council that has any questions or comments? No, I'm not hearing anybody. So go ahead, Barb.
My only comment was to Councillor Shipton's question to Clinton then, but isn't the school board provincial? Like, they apply for the expanded school or the growth, but they're only allowed, or the province only considers the prior year existing or something. I recall reading that, and it's not just the school board, but the province that needs to look at what's coming and, or like you said, Clinton, what's already here. Did I get all that wrong when I?
Go ahead, Clint.
No, you didn't. It is the province. The school board has had an application into for either an enlargement or a new school in for Dundalk for over a year. I believe they put it in last, when was it? I think they said July or something like that. And they have heard nothing from the province. So it's just as much another arm of the province that as anything, that, hey, there's an issue here, and maybe that's a role that this council can make it future delegations to say, look, you need to speed up this process and know what the left hand and right hand are doing to ensure we get schooling in a timely manner.
I would agree that a delegation at AMO might be in order to, they've granted the MZOs, so they're aware that the growth is coming, and yet they don't grant the school. Anyway, yeah, definitely something that we need to address at the province and advocate on behalf of the school board or with the school board together. Thank you.
Yep. May I have a follow-up there, John?
Okay. Yeah, I'll see if there's anyone else that hasn't asked a question yet, that wants to, and if not, then we'll let you go. So I'm not hearing.
Okay. Well, I certainly didn't mean to diss the school board. You know, there's been problems, obviously, and I know they're provincial, but I think we've just talked about it between Clint and Councillor DeBreen and myself. You know, an application has been put in for a new school probably a year and a half ago, and the government, provincial government, is handing out these EMS zoning orders for new houses when, as Clinton said, it's the right hand and the left hand. So that's the only reason I mentioned that. I certainly just want to make it clear, I'm not putting down the school board itself. There is stuff going on, but they are not working with each other when it comes to building communities. That's all I wanted to say. So anyway.
Okay, thank you. I'm not hearing any more from council. So next on the agenda would be the applicant or agent, but Ron and Clint have already talked about the official plan. So I think we'll move to members of the public. And Lindsay, you may have to help me out because I would say I can only see about 4 or 5 others. So if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, state your name.
So there are 2 callers on the line, Mayor Woodbury. You have called in, we can hear you. You're unmuted. So if you wanted to speak up, just state your name for the record. And if you have any comments, and also Corey Chisholm from MHBC also wanted to sign up. So Corey, I see, is on the meeting, but
No, Corey just sent a note that says he has no comments. But
So
thank you for being here, Corey.
there's two callers. So if you would like to speak up, you have the floor.
No, not hearing anything, so we'll move along to any further questions from council. And I'm not hearing any there either. So, Ron, I'd like to thank you and Clint for all the work put into this, and the rest of the staff. I know it's no small task, and thank you. It's moving us forward to the future. So, and then I will call an adjournment at 6:51. Okay, thanks everybody.